It's absolute madness to me that rather than taking the boats back to France over a number of years now, we have seen an astronomical number of people crossing from France to England on small boats. Loads of talk, very little action from government to stop this. And the fact is, you can see some of the recent days there. That's the number of people crossing, the number of boats going on pretty much on a daily basis at the moment. The new Home Secretary, of course, under this Labour government, Yvette Cooper, claiming that the Rwanda scheme that they've cancelled was costing £700 million. And of course, you are now seeing, along with that scrapped Rwanda plan, a new Labour approach, which seemingly includes using this bizarre phrase we've seen pop up in some lefty media, this term irregular migration now being used by the Home Office rather than illegal migration. We also hear Labour want to shut down the Bibi Stockholm barge without actually saying where those on board will end up going. And Labour have also been accused now of a policy of amnesty, of mass amnesty, that you could see in terms of people that have arrived to the country illegally. As many as 70,000 people set to be given asylum in the UK. Tens of thousands of illegal migrants set to get asylum in the UK, it seems. 120,000 people who the previous government said would never be allowed to settle here, now going to have their claims processed. You could see 70,000 people granted asylum. It could be 90,000 people. And the former Home Secretary there, James Cleverly, accusing this government of an effective amnesty. But Yvette Cooper arguing that the change would save the taxpayers' money in reduced accommodation costs. Don't really understand how that works, however, because those who stay, of course, are going to need somewhere to live, aren't they? Now, James Cleverly has actually announced that he's going to be standing to be Conservative leader, and he's slammed what he's described as Yvette's Amnesty Act, replacing Rwanda with Rochdale, the Bibi Stockholm with Bishop Stortford, and he said the people smugglers have been waiting for this moment. Of course, the dynamics have now changed in Parliament because you have got a party in Reform UK who actually advocate leaving the ECHR, of taking boats back to France. I think it's been interesting already to see the interventions from Richard Tice and Nigel Farage in Parliament on this. Here's some of what both those Reform MPs had to say. Watch this and let me know what you make of it.
Take a drug dealer off the street corner. Guess what? Another one appears because of the vile drugs trade and the amount of money involved. My constituents of Boston and Skegness believe it's exactly the same with trying your policy, Home Secretary, of smashing the gangs. If you smash one gang, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. Another one appear, and another one will appear because there is so much money involved. Here's the point. How long will you give your policy, Home Secretary, before realising that the only policy will work is the policy that you actually started last week, which is to pick up and take back to France, which we're entitled to do under international maritime law. It will help British citizens, it will help the British taxpayers, and it will help the French, and it will reduce the magnet factor.
I think you'll find it's the increased role of a court overseas that was set up in the wake of World War II with the very, very best of intentions that has now completely outlived its usefulness. It is, of course, called the ECHR, the European Court of Human Rights, and it was the Labour government that enshrined the Convention into British law. We will not stop the boats, even if we sent a handful to Rwanda. We will not stop the boats by attempting to smash the criminal gangs. We've been doing that to the drugs industry in Britain year after year, decade after decade, with no success whatsoever. The financial rewards for smuggling people across the English Channel can now net a gang 2 to 3 million euros a week. Whatever prison sentences or penalties are put upon them, there will always be people volunteering to make millions of euros a week. We will only stop this if we start deporting people that come illegally. Then they won't pay the smugglers. But we'll only do that by leaving the ECHR. But I've got a fun suggestion that I think would liven up politics, engage the public, and see a massively increased turnout. Why don't we have a referendum on whether we continue to be members of the ECHR?